Welcome to our Corona game development series, part of the step-by-step series in creating a Corona-based game based upon the Star Explorer. This is part 4, and we're going to be continue the conversion of our game to scene management using Composer. In this particular tutorial, we're going to transition what we've already created using in the main.lua, which is now stored in our main.original file, and convert that to a scene-based system using the Composer toolset. First thing that we need to do is go ahead and create our game.lua file. Now the easiest way to do this is take your scene template that can be downloaded from the GitHub repository of Corona Labs and copy that, and let's paste that and rename it to game.lua. Now the majority of what we're going to be doing today is copying information from the main copy of our original that we created in the first and second tutorial in this series and move that into game.lua, which we just created, that is based upon our Composer scenes. If you have any, again, if you'd like to see the written instructions of this is available at docs.coronalabs.com/guide/programming/05. And this is using the Composer, and it is part of the Getting Started series that has been published on the Corona Labs website. Now, much of what we already need to do is already here for us. We already have our scene management system in place. What we need to do is copy the correct information into the correct location from our original that we created. First thing that we're going to need is our physics information, so let's copy that and go over here to game.lua, and we'll place those right here. And this is used by everything inside the scene, so it's a great place to put that. Next, let's get our, and do notice I am only copying just in case I make a mistake somewhere along the way that I don't lose everything. Next, we're going to copy our sprite sheet information as well as loading the sprite sheet into information. So I'm going to again copy that and place that right below our physics commands here. So we've set our gravity, and then we set the sheet options and load the object sheet from our assets. Now let's go ahead and get our initial variables and place them right under the object sheet. So far everything has gone outside of any other function and is directly below where we create our Composer and our scene. Okay, so here's our first change. We have our backup group, our main group, and our UI group. For this to work correctly inside of a Composer or a scene-based management system, we need to forward declare these variables before they are used anywhere else in the application, because we're actually going to be using them inside the create scene or the show scenes. So we need to do a forward declaration, which just simply means we're going to go ahead and declare them. So back group, main group, and our UI group. Okay, so that has our groups declared. Now we need to get our functions set up. For the time being, we're going to skip over where we created our background and our ship. Those are going to be used later, as well as the text. So what we need to do is copy over the functions. So update text, create asteroid, fire laser, and we're going to stop before we get to where we're adding the event listener. So I'm not copying the event listener, I'm copying the function fire laser, create asteroid, and update text. And those will go right below our variable declarations. There we go. We still have not gotten into any of the scene event functions. Everything is above that. All right, now let's go back and get some of our other functions. We need the drag ship function. We do not want the event listener, just the drag ship. We also need the game loop. Again, we do not want the timer. We want the restore ship and on collision, but not the runtime event listener. The listeners need to be inside of the scene management system. They're not going to be called before the scene is loaded, so we need to make sure that we're just placing the functions that are used inside the application before the scene management. Okay, now we're ready to start adding our scene management information. First thing we want to do is pause physics. While everything is loading, physics does not need to be active. Now we need to add our scene management systems. They are going to be part of the view scene, and we need to go ahead and add our display groups. So background, or our back group, which we've already declared. And we're going to insert the back group into our scene management, or scene group. Just make sure that all groups are part of the same group, but we can have multiple groups inside of another group. Sets up our group management. And now we can add the background, ship, and text objects. And again, those can be copied back over from main. So there they are at the top. And now they're in the create scene. All right, now we need to go down to show. And in the did, which is when the app is running, or when the scene is running for the player, we need to go ahead and start our physics and add our event listeners. And just a couple little things left to do. When the player leaves the scene, we need to remove our event listeners and stop our timer. And in our hide scene, we need to remove our event listener for collisions, and we'll pause the physics engine. Now we just have one or two minor things still to do to our app. Let's set it up for an in-game situation. Back up at our scene management, where we have on collision, and we have where the player has died, lives are down to 0, and we're removing the ship. We need to create an in-game situation. Now we just simply need to add a function for handling in-game. So above on collision, I'm going to put local end game. And this will just simply tell the composer system to go to our new scene for going back to our menu. Now let's make just simply one more minor adjustment, and we'll call this part of the tutorial done. We'll go ahead and save our game, and we're going to go back to the menu section. And here where we are going to our game and going to high scores, we need to make sure that if the game's been played before, we're starting a new game. To do that, we need to remove the scene if it's been previously loaded. So we're going to do a composer.remove scene just to make sure it has been cleared out of memory, and we'll do the same for high scores so it doesn't accidentally load an old scene and bring up an old set of high scores. There we go. That'll force a clean, fresh start every single time to the game. Okay, and there we have transitioned our game now so that we have playable game, and we're able, oops, looks like I did not add back in the touch event listener to the game. Let's make sure that we've got that, and that should go into the scene start, so we don't have that touch player, and we also don't have our tap event. We'll put that in real quick, and you could have copied those over, but now we are able to fire, Yeah, but we don't have collision working because I misspelled collision. Get all parts working. There we go. And now we're set. So make sure that you do add the add event listener for tap, touch, and have collision spelled correctly so that it will work correctly. We're moving right along with our game. Next time we will be adding our high score system to it. Be sure to join us. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. We have a lot more tutorials and lessons forthcoming. If you'd like to follow what's happening, you can follow us on Twitter at Dr. Brian Burton, or Facebook at Burton's Media Group, or follow us on our website, burtonsmediagroup.com. If you'd like notification through YouTube, hit the like or subscribe button.